Hello, this is Megan, your GFDF BFF, and today we're going to talk about salt. Salt makes the difference between being a mediocre cook and a really, really good cook. But it's important to know the when and the how of salting your food. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I thought it would be fun to do a little video instead of just an article. So I hope y'all enjoy this format. First of all, we're going to talk about the different types of salt. It's not just like one size fits all. There's not just one salt. I know probably a lot of people grew up and are used to seeing this right here. I actually didn't even know I had this. It was in the back of my cabinet somewhere, but this is just run-of-the-mill salt, probably what you would put in a little salt shaker, but it has something in it called calcium silicate, an anti-caking agent. So for that reason, we're going to say bye-bye. You don't need extra ingredients in your salt. Your salt should just be salt. Before I get started, let's touch on the thought that salt is bad for you. I would like to debunk that myth. Salt is something that you need to have in balance. Too much salt is bad for you. Also, too little salt is bad for you. Salt is not just a seasoning. Salt is a mineral, and it's a mineral that our bodies need. Some of us need more than others. If you're someone who works out a lot and you're outside and you're exercising and you're sweating, you need more salt. That's why we have all these electrolyte drinks on the market that are so salty. If you're somebody that drinks a ton of water all day, you might need some extra sprinkles of salt or some electrolytes because you are diluting the minerals in your body with all that water. Not to say that drinking that water isn't great for you, because it is. Keep doing it. But you want to make sure you're putting minerals in your body. This is another thing. When people talk about getting too much salt, studies show that what they're talking about is the salt in packaged processed foods and the salt from restaurants. Restaurant food and packaged processed foods are known for having too much salt. Have you ever bitten into a bag of the yellow Lay's potato chips? Like, that is so intensely salty, it's unpleasant. So that is not what we're going for. Most of our packaged processed foods either have too much salt or too much sugar. And that's why we get to experience the joy of cooking meals from scratch in our own kitchen. You can make wonderful, delicious food from scratch in your kitchen, and it's so satisfying and so delicious. I love doing it. So when we're using salt in the kitchen, we're just putting a sprinkle here and there. Like, it's going to be hard for us to overindulge in salt, because if you use that much salt, your food wouldn't really taste good. So we're not talking about overusing salt. If you're somebody with high blood pressure or kidney issues, yeah, you do need to be careful, and you might be on a low salt diet. And there would be other measures you could take to season your food, like using extra herbs or extra spices. That would be a great place for you to be. But if you're a normal, healthy adult, adding salt to your food is not going to hurt you. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about the different types of salts that we use in our kitchen. Let's see. This is just a very basic pink salt. There's one ingredient in this, it's salt. This is also called like pink Himalayan salt. And it's just a higher quality salt that you can use for any recipe that calls for fine salt. So when I use, and there it goes, pardon, the flying salt. Okay, so when I use pink salt, I'm using, or really when I use a fine, let's consider this fine sea salt. When I use a fine sea salt, it's in my baking. If I'm making cookies or pumpkin muffins or any kind of a sweet thing, or even oatmeal or chia seeds, or I even sometimes add a pinch to my smoothie, that's when I'm using a fine sea salt. In a dish that's maybe not a salt forward dish, not a savory dish, your fine sea salt is going to be great for your baking. When I'm cooking, this is my very, very favorite salt. This is a coarse salt, a coarse kosher salt, and this is my favorite brand. There's different kinds of salts that that chefs swear by, and this is one of them. There's another one. I think it's the Swan something. It's in a red box and it's real fluffy. I'm not used to using that salt. I'm used to this one. But this is, keep it in my salt cellar. If you can, get a little salt cellar. Have your salt in something where you can feel it, you can touch it, you can really get used to the feeling of how much salt you're using and what that feels like. This is what chefs are doing. So this is my little salt cellar. I have one from Amazon that I love. I'll link it. My mom gave me this one. But you keep this next to your stove and you're salting your food with this. This is a thicker, coarser grain salt. Let's see if I can show it to you. This is probably going to get blurry, but anyway, it's a fat salt. So it makes your food taste really, really good. When I salt like my scrambled eggs or my ground beef that I'm browning, or even when I'm browning some onions, or just any, like when I'm cooking dinner, this is the salt I'm using. When I'm cooking anything on the stove, this is the salt I'm using. When I'm baking, this is the salt I'm using. So basically it's just your fine salt and your coarse salt. Then we have a couple other salts that you don't have to have, but are fun to have around. This is Celtic sea salt. It's known for having a very high mineral content. This is a great salt to use as like a supplement. I actually put this in my water every morning. I just put a pinch of it. This is a gray sea salt. It's really also pretty coarsely ground, even more so than that. I put a pinch of it in my water every morning with some lemon juice, and that's kind of my morning electrolyte drink. You can make your own electrolytes by just using any citrus fruit and a pinch of salt. You don't have to buy the expensive fancy packages of electrolyte mix. You can just do that. It's called Nature's Gatorade, and you could even put in a little bit of honey or a little bit of monk fruit or something to sweeten it up. But anyway, this is just has a really high mineral content. It's really good for, restoring the minerals in your body. So you can use it on food too, but I use this kind of as a supplement. I keep a little container of it by the sink, and I put it in my water when I'm in the morning, or if I'm going out and making a big thing of water, I'll just throw some of this in it. It's really nice. This is another really fun salt. Sorry, I don't have the box anymore. Sea salt flakes. These are really great if you're making something salted like a chocolate chip cookie and you want to sprinkle some flaky salt on it. This is really fun. It's like flat flakes of salt. It's really fun. I'll have to take some pictures and show you. I also love making like a medium hard-boiled egg and cutting it in half and putting on like a tiny bit of grass-fed butter and then a sprinkle of this salt. If you're slicing up like an heirloom tomato and maybe sprinkling some olive oil on it and putting some salt on it, some flaky salt is really nice. I even have heard, I tried this summer, a slice of watermelon with some lime juice and some flaky salt. It's really great. And that brings us to why. Why would you put salt on a chocolate chip cookie or on a tomato or on a piece of watermelon? Well, what's really great about salt is not just a seasoning, it's a flavor enhancer. So if you have something sweet like watermelon, it's actually going to bring out the sweetness. It's going to give you that little sweet tart thing that you feel right there. That's just so good. Or on a chocolate chip cookie, I love salty and sweet together. So like peanut butter and chocolate or whatever, a brownie with some sea salt on it. I mean, you could even sprinkle this on a scoop of chocolate ice cream. The salt brings out the flavors. I heard that what it does is it balances the food. It perfects the balance between the sweetness and the acidity of food. So salt is really amazing. It does a lot for your meal. So that's our kinds of salt. We've got our pink salt, or our, excuse me. We've got our fine sea salt. It doesn't have to be pink. It's just a finer grain. Also, popcorn. You don't want to put this would just like be way overkill and it wouldn't stick to your popcorn. This is what you put. And you are making your popcorn from scratch at home, right? It's so easy and so delicious. That's going to be a different video. Okay. Anyway, we've got our sea salt. We've got our coarse kosher salt for any time we're cooking. Also, if you are, say, going to cook a steak, you want to pull it out that morning or the night before, and you want to put a very generous sprinkle of this coarse salt on it. And that brings me to another thing that salt does, is it brings out the moisture. So it's going to bring out it's going to make your steak really juicy when you cover it in salt and let it sit all day in the refrigerator. And then when you cook it that night, that salt is like a dry brine. It makes it really good. I love this recipe I saw on that show, Selena and Chef. This chef was in her kitchen, and I love it when you make something so delicious from really simple ingredients. And they roasted a whole chicken, and all he did was he took this chicken, this whole raw chicken, put it on a pan, and he just rained salt down all over it, a lot of salt, just on all the sides of the chicken. And then they roasted it really high, like 450 for like 50 minutes. And this thing was like just crispy and juicy and succulent. And I've made this several times. First of all, your house smells amazing. And it's just like the salt crisps up the skin and draws out the moisture. And it's so simple. It's chicken and salt, and it creates this dish that you could feed to company. Like, it's so, so good. So I'll link that recipe. It's a great basic roasting a chicken recipe. And then you have all that chicken. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Or you just eat it plain without anything else. It doesn't even need sauce. It's so good. So that's the power of salt. It's not just, if you just did that chicken without the salt, that's not what would happen. Okay, so let me set a scenario for you. This is how you become a good home cook. So think about the difference between these two things. Let's say you want to make some scrambled eggs. Let's say you get your eggs, you beat them, and let's say you're using like some Pam cooking spray or whatever. Hopefully you're using an avocado oil spray and not like a seed oil spray, like a vegetable oil. We're not using those anymore, right? We're using our avocado oil spray from Costco. We spray our pan, we beat up some eggs, we throw them in there, we cook them, we put them on a plate, we take a bite. Those are some sad scrambled eggs. Those are some bland, terrible scrambled eggs. So what do? You grab your salt shaker to shake on some salt, right? Well, that's just you're never going to season your food well by putting salt on top of bland food. It's just going to give you like a saltiness and a blandness together. But it doesn't allow the salt to do what salt does best, which is really bring out a flavor. That salt needs to get in there early on in the cooking process. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start salting your food all along the way as you're cooking your meal. Every layer that you're cooking gets just a little hint of salt, and I promise you your food will taste better. When you're browning onions to make a soup, you're salting your onions with your nice salt cellar right next to you. You're just sprinkling some salt on. You'll get a feel for how much to use. I know I'm getting salt all over the floor. It's okay. You'll get a feel for like how much to use, but also get in the habit of tasting your food. When you see a chef in a restaurant cooking, they have that spoon or that fork right there, and they are constantly tasting. Taste your food as you're cooking. Salt your onions, taste them. Do they taste salty? You want them to taste good. You're going to add more veggies to the pan. You're going to add a little bit of salt. You're going to add that meat to the pan that you're browning. You're going to add a little bit of salt. You're going to make a sauce or whatever. You're going to taste it. You're going to add a little bit of salt. Here's another thing. Are you making rice or pasta? Add salt to the water. I love this cookbook, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. There's a whole chapter in here about salt. And she says that your cooking water, should be salty like the sea. I was in Hawaii last week, and let me tell you, I forgot how salty the sea is. And I thought about my pasta water, and I was like, my pasta water has not been as salty as the sea. But you are flavoring your pasta just by salting the water. So I think like at least a teaspoon of salt in your pasta water, but taste it. Is it salty? Does it taste good? Another wonderful example of how salt makes your food taste better is making white rice. If you just make your rice in your water, cook it, bring it to the table, you've got some bland white rice. But if you take your rice, put in a little salt, maybe put in a little pat of butter or a little glurg of olive oil, and then bonus, you could even use chicken broth instead of water. That rice is that could be a dish of its own. Like, you could add some veggies with it. You could put some herbs on top of it. And that's an amazing side dish that didn't take you any extra time. And that's the difference between your bland plain rice and your seasoned rice. Even just salt, water, and a little bit of a fat, either butter or olive oil. She talks about fat in here too, and we're going to talk about that next week. Salting your food as you cook, in layers as you go, will make you a better home chef. You're going to love the way your food tastes. You're going to love cooking for yourself. You're going to love cooking at home. It's going to become joyful and wonderful and delicious, and everybody's going to start to know you as a great chef, the great chef that you are and that you can be if you just start using salt. So we're not using too much salt. We're not using salt in excess or all the time. Yeah, we kind of are using it all the time. I mean, a bowl of oatmeal, put a little salt in there or don't, and see which one's better. I really like it with the salt. She says in here, make some cookie dough and do half a batch with salt and half without. Salt brings out sweetness so well. You will choose your salted cookie dough over your unsalted all day long. Another thing I want to say is, okay, here's a question. Should you get salted or unsalted butter? I always buy salted butter. Even if the recipe calls for unsalted butter, I mean, it's such a minimal amount of salt. I don't think you really taste it. Like when I make baked goods, I use salted butter and I also add salt. So When I make a pie crust or cookies or a cake, I'm always using salted butter. So that just makes it easier. Just buy the salted butter. What else do I want to tell you about salt? She said some really fun things in here. Let me see if I can find any of them. Develop a sense for salt by tasting everything as you cook, early and often. Adopt the mantra, stir, taste, adjust. Make salt the first thing you notice as you taste and the last thing you adjust before serving a dish. When constant tasting becomes instinctive, you can begin to improvise. The 3 basic decisions involving salt are when, how much, and in what form. Ask yourself these 3 questions every time you set out to cook. Start salting your food as you go. Start salting your food before you serve it, not after. And just watch how delicious your food begins to taste. You are a good chef. I just know it. I feel it. I'm imparting it to you. Go out and cook delicious food. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I love sharing this with you. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are your thoughts about salt? Do you try to stay low salt? How do you feel about this? Do you feel good about it? Are you going to do it? I would love to hear it. But until next time, signing off. Have a great day, friends.